So it's now recording. I was going to say I'm not going to shut the door completely so Miss Farrow can come in.
Should we start? Or should we? It's fine.
Probably. So he doesn't start it. He said it is recording. Oh, well, they edit out stuff.
Okay. I was gonna say I gotta pull this.
Otherwise, I can see all the faces of the camera. I
Yeah.
don't know. Either. Tom Stiefermann, Action 5 News.
They're gonna watch it and be like.
We actually, this morning we had a drill at the Callaway plant, and they always go through these scenarios like, you know, something's happened there and there's an accident. And they have to evacuate people. And so they've got a whole lot of real technical things that can go wrong that we drill on. So today my idea, and I was served as the spokesperson for the state. So my idea was to tell them the damage was caused by space Martians. And the people from the plant, of course, they're all very serious. So some of them might have my talking points there, and on the back of it I drew. So like right at
Told me
the
to
end
go to the
of
office. No, Mr. Earl did. I was like, so I'm supposed to just wait here.
It's recording. It's recording.
Oh. Should I sit right here?
Yeah. Okay. Do you have the questions?
Yeah, I have them on my computer.
Okay, so we're just gonna like alternate. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine. Are we supposed to like write them down or?
No, it's he just records it.
Okay. This is Olivia.
Hi,
This is
nice
my
to meet
Uncle
you.
Tom.
I'm Tom.
I was running around looking for you when
Oh.
you were already here. No, you're fine. Okay.
You can start.
So,
I think it's good. Wait, it's good. He said it was. Okay, yeah, we're good.
okay. What is your last name? Spell it, first name, and middle name.
My last name is Stiefermann, Stiefermann. First name is Thomas, and my middle initial is B.
What year were you born?
1963.
Where did you live when you became a part of the military?
At that time, I was in Springfield, Missouri,
What branch of service were you a part of?
the Army.
How did you get in the service? Were you volunteered or?
Yes, I volunteered after I graduated from Herrick Elias, and I went to school down in Springfield. And my first year of college, I didn't have an extraordinary college career, and my counselor there recommended I explore what opportunities the armed forces might offer. So I got back to my room, and I was watching, I don't know if you remember back then, they had big old VCR machines, like about that size. I was watching the movie Stripes, and it was like, holy crap, I'm that guy. So I thought, well, check out the Army. So I did.
When did you first start your service?
I think I did the paperwork December 15th, 1981, and I went to basic training on June 14th, 1982.
Where was your basic?
Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Where were you sent after your basic training?
My first duty station was Fort Knox, Kentucky, and I was there and then moved on a few times after that.
What was your job when you began military service?
When I first went in, I was in aviation. I worked on Army helicopters, the Cobra attack helicopters. And after that, after a few years of that, I switched over to logistics.
Where did you begin your military service after advanced training?
That was at Fort Knox.
What was happening in the world when you were in the Army?
The Cold War was still going on when I first joined, and I don't know how familiar you are with that, but obviously at the end of World War II, Central Europe was kind of divided up, mainly through Germany, East and West Germany, and the Soviet bloc countries occupied the eastern side, and then of course the NATO countries on the western side. So the United States had a very large military footprint in Western Europe, specifically in Germany, because there was an area there, there's a town, a city called Fulda, F-U-L-D-A, and there was an area there called the Fulda Gap, and geographically they thought if the Soviets were to ever invade Western Europe, and of course they had a huge armada of tanks and armored vehicles, that's really probably the best route for them to get into Western Europe because, you know, it's a huge valley. And then, of course, from NATO's perspective, that was a good thing because the Soviets would all be channeled into one area, so you could stop them there.
How long did you serve?
26 years.
What was the reason for you to get out?
I retired because I'm old.
If you served during the time of war, what engagements can you remember?
Afghanistan, Operation Enduring Freedom, and I was part of the 10th Mountain Division then, and we had several engagements. First big one was a thing called Operation Mountain Lion. The thing about Afghanistan, the way, you know, it's not like you watch a war movie or read a book where it's just like in World War II, it's just constant fighting. Afghanistan, they actually kind of take a break in the winter, and a lot of the bad guy forces kind of go back into the mountains and then into Pakistan and kind of regroup and refit. And there's always the spring offensive. I mean, it's been going on this way since 2001, 2002, where they start to come out of the mountains and we start to go after them. So.
What's the thing you remember most about your time in service?
People. I really feel very lucky. You know, I grew up here in Jefferson City, went to St. Peter's, went to Helias. So I always, I had a good foundation of, you know, hometown friends and family and all that. But then when I joined the military, and the Army specifically, I always thought it was a very good, probably one of the most pure cross sections of American society, because you got smart, dumb, rich, poor, people of all ethnic backgrounds, and you just get to meet so many amazing people from so many places that you otherwise wouldn't cross paths with. So that's.
What qualities do you believe you carried from the military to where you are today?
I think flexibility, being able to deal with situations that are, I guess, unpredictable, and leadership, and I think kind of a good humored leadership, be able to keep people around me calm when things are not going well.
What are your most enduring memories of your time in service?
Other than the people I served with and the great friends, the part about Afghanistan, the year we were there with the 10th Mountain Division, we lost 60 soldiers, and a big part of my job was, you know, helping recover their remains and get them shipped back home. And just never wanting them to be forgotten, you know. And I left there in 2006, so, you know, it's been a number of years, and it just, you know, if somebody was 21 years old then, they'd be 33 now, and, you know, all the life they missed out on, and, all, you know, what all their loved ones missed out on. It's just sticks with you.
Do you ever get back together with the people?
Yes.
You said? Yeah.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, been to Virginia a couple of times to see, folks just kind of tend to end up in Virginia for whatever reason. And then the first week of every July for the past several years, a lot of us that went to Afghanistan together get together. One of the guys has this huge chunk of land out in the boonies. So we go out there, and it's like a big irresponsible camping trip where there's, you know, hooliganism and, you know, just catching up with folks. And it's,
That's good.
yeah, it's a good time.
Should we grab pictures here?
Yeah.
Is that something?
Yeah, I didn't know some of these. I just got these back from Walmart the other day. This one, and a lot of them didn't turn out very well. This one, when you fly into Afghanistan, when you get off at the main terminal in Bagram Air Base, at least at the time, this mural was on the wall, and it's like right as you come off the tarmac, you know, it's an open airfield, you come in, you see that, and then when you leave, you see that, you know, as you're getting on the plane, and that just, I always thought that was kind of powerful. I don't know if you can
Here, I'll check.
see that.
Yeah, you can see it. Should I? Do you think I should like tilt it down so when he holds them up, like we can zoom in?
Yeah, you can turn it over.
Okay. You can just like set them down like you were.
Okay. But anyway, that's, it reads, this is a tribute to all who've fallen during
Yeah.
Operation Enduring Freedom, live a life worthy of their sacrifice. This is a picture I think every woman in the Western world should enjoy. This is downtown Kabul, and
That's
there's a
perfect.
couple of women just going about their daily business, and you can see, you know, how they have to be covered from head to toe, although you will notice their shoes and their
Right.
feet
Yeah.
kind of weirdly fancy. But this, you know, looks like rubble
Right.
is kind of a big part of the city. It's just what it looks like. This, I'm not sure where I got it, but it was, that always strikes me. This is a patch from the glorious 10th Mountain Division. That was, of the 26 years I was in, that's one of my 2 favorite units, I think. So I just think that's a cool picture. This was from the best job in the Army I ever had when I was what's called a first sergeant. And that's like you and a captain. The captain's company commander, the first sergeant is, you know, the NCO in charge of the whole company. And the best part of that job is you get, you directly impact soldiers' lives every day. And like, for example, if Private Smith has a pay problem, you know, in most cases to fix Private Smith's pay problem, you know, there's a stack of paperwork and appointments and all this. However, somehow when you're in that first sergeant position, you have these magical powers. You can just call up to finance and say, hey, Smith's got a problem, fix it. And that's a really gratifying thing. This is during my brief stint as Commander-in-Chief. Kanye West interrupted me. I just thought that was funny. This is my son, David Stiefermann. He's a Navy Seabee. And this was the day before he went to Afghanistan with his son, my grandson. And I think this is kind of a cool picture because, you know, I think from a perspective of folks who, you know, not in the military, when you, you know, you see people deployed and all that, but when you're actually doing it, it's really weird because, you know, like that morning, it's just a morning at home, you know, and then all of a sudden you get on a bus and you go to an airfield and you're gone for a year. It's a good friend of mine, Kevin Nauman. He committed suicide. These are a couple of days after we got back from Afghanistan. These are some of my peers. This guy, Brian Connie. I hope he never sees this. He's a good guy, but we had a lot of laughs at his expense. This fella, Don Freeman, kind of looks like the Hills Have Eyes guy. The total Army NCO. I mean, he is everything. If you watch the movie or anything about the Army, this is what you'd expect to run into. And we were stationed together a few times over the years, and then we ended up as neighbors after we got back from Afghanistan. And that's his daughter, Madison. Just a great guy. So was Norman, as a matter of fact. Let's see. This, when I was talking about Germany, this is a sign from Berlin, Checkpoint Charlie. The dividing line went right through the city of Berlin, and this is when you're leaving the American sector. There were 4 sectors in there. There was the American sector, the British, the French, and then the Russian sector. And so, you know, as a courtesy, they put it up in different languages for you so that you know your day's probably going to get bad if you get far beyond that point or in the wrong direction. And a few of my favorite soldiers in Afghanistan, Joel Matthey, Jacob Zatino. Matthey, he's getting ready to retire now. This guy, oh, good Lord. Johnson. Forget his name right. Smart guy. Zatino's a wannabe movie star. He lives out in Hollywood now. Seriously, he's doing his best to get in the movies. And you're not going to make it. Should have stayed in the Army. This was just one day out in Afghanistan. If you don't know what that is, behind me, this is me trying to stay cool. That's actually an air conditioner, and it was like 100 and some degrees. You can see we had little bottles of water in there to chill them. This is an area, oh, I forget the name of the town, but these buildings in the next few pictures, these are, back in the 70s, the Soviets invaded Afghanistan, and they eventually got beaten back out of there. But while they were there, you know, they put down roots. So this was an old Soviet building that their army stayed in. Their construction was incredibly horrible. Anything they build falls apart pretty quickly. But this is an Afghan national policeman up on top of the roof providing security, wearing a reflective vest, I guess, to help the Taliban zero in on him. I don't know. This is an Afghan ambulance, just amongst the rubble. This fella, this guy named Rich Stroud. Funny thing about Rich Stroud, first time I went to Germany in 1985, turned out we're neighbors with Rich Stroud. When I left Germany, was sent to Fort Leonard Wood. Rich Stroud was at Fort Leonard Wood as a drill sergeant. I went to Korea, and then I went to Virginia. He went somewhere. I go back to Germany in 1997. I turn a corner. There's Rich Stroud again. This was in Afghanistan. Rich Stroud had got out, worked for the Department of the Army as a civilian. It's the funny uniform. And it's like, holy crap, it's Rich Stroud. Haven't heard from him since. But y'all remember the Geico insurance commercial a while back? You know, so easy a caveman can do it.
Oh, yeah.
This is a recruiting suggestion we had. Didn't get very far. These were my team in Afghanistan. When I first got them, I told them, we see all our 10th Mountain patches there. I told them they had 24 hours to come up with nicknames, or else I was going to give them a nickname. So in some cases I gave him one. This guy, Mighty Dave Stauffer, and Dave and I are still friends. Dave will tell you, he doesn't read or write particularly well, but he can take apart, anything like that camera and put it back together and make it work twice as good. He's just a genius that way. Robert Sims, this guy, Diamond Joe Mesa, really high-speed fella. He did a lot of work with like dark ops in Central and South America, fighting drug cartels. That's me, a fellow named Lee Harvey. Love it because he's from Texas and he shoots really well, so it's kind of some dark humor. This guy back here, we called him Woody because if you ever saw Toy Story, he would always wear those boonie hats, kind of had the flat brim, except his was always pulled straight out, and so he looked like Woody. And then there's Lurch and Cool Hand Tim Adams. This was at a ball where there was too much beer involved. I'll keep that one out. These are some of the ruins of Taliban and Soviet battlefield. That's just stuff just laying there rotting. One of the things about, these are mountains, Afghanistan would be a beautiful country if God could pick it up, turn it upside down, and shake all the people off of it and put it back. Mountains are beautiful. It's got all types of different geography. It's got deserts, it's got plains, grasslands. What's horrible about it is when the Soviets were there, they put out a lot of mines. And according to their doctrine, they didn't record where they put them. They would just put them out there. To this day, it's mainly farm animals, but still, you know, children. Those mines can last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You know, it wasn't uncommon for small kids to get hurt. This is just a miscellaneous aircraft in Afghanistan. This is an Afghan national policeman, charming looking fella. Them, the AMP and the ANA, Afghan National Army. They're an interesting group. Corruption is huge there. Their whole take on their culture is, most Afghans, you know how we all think of ourselves as like Missourians or Americans or any of that. They don't see themselves really as part of any nationality. They're more in tune to like being part of a clan or a tribe. And so, you know, when you go up to them and you give them, you know, the spiel about you have to be Afghans and be united against the bad guys, you can just kind of see their eyes glaze over and they just don't buy into that. But, you know, for this fella, hopefully he's still doing good things. But it's just a job to a lot of them. It's me and my buddies. This is an old Soviet MiG jet. This flag, this was September 11th, 2006. It was 5 years after the Twin Towers were hit. And so that's the flag. I got the picture of it and I folded it up and sent it to Dad. So that's the
That's
one
in our
there.
house.
Yeah. So that's the one. Got a little beat up since then, I've noticed. This is just a hillside in Afghanistan, in Kabul, where people live, and it's just makes you really grateful, you know, to be an American.
Really.
It's my son when he was young and cool. He's significantly older now. He's in his 30s. This, I wanted to go back, Afghan children. What had happened, we were out driving around in Kabul one day in this convoy, and they came over the radio and they said, hey, there's, you know, we have intel, there's a suicide bomber out there. So we had to go up to the top of this. They said, we want you to go someplace and just kind of stay where you are until we can figure out where the guy is. So we drive up this huge hill, and there's all these little, you know, like, well, these houses. Well, these kids, look at, you know, some of them are barefoot, some of them have their little sandals on and stuff. You drive up this hill, and there's like little shacks and houses. Well, we get up to the top of the hill, and there's this huge, like, it's either TV or radio antenna. So we get up there, and we're waiting. Well, whenever we travel, we'd always have cases of water with us. And these kids loved it when you'd give them just a bottle of water. And we were like, I mean, it's just water, kid. Come on. Our MREs. But, you know, anywhere you go in the world, for some reason, kids like MREs. Well, we finally put two and two together. These kids live up on this, really, it's a small mountain. If they want water in their homes, they have to carry it up from the bottom. So, you know, if somebody brings it up to the top of the mountain and gives it to them and they know it's clean water, it's kind of a big deal. Well, as we were leaving, you know, the road, it's not a nice road like we have here. It was like a little dirt gravel road that winds down the side of this hill. These kids start chasing, not chasing angry, but they want another bottle of water and stuff. And just thought, gosh, what a bleak existence. But what really kind of struck me about this is you see some of these are, you know, young girls or young women, and here, you know, they're out, look, if you change their clothes, they'd look like kids anywhere else, but this is what they get to aspire to when they grow up. It's kind of depressing. This is an Apache attack helicopter out looking for bad guys. Just thought that was cool. And these are some of the same knuckleheads as in that other picture, except, where is he? Duke. We called him Duke. Duke, he, first of all, he's a semi-pro football player, huge bodybuilder. He has arms like most people's legs. And he was an MP, and he was always like my enforcer. So if somebody was out of line, I'd threaten him with giving him a blue swirly, which is find the nearest porta-john. Of course, he never did it, to my knowledge. But anyway, Duke, he thought his nickname was because of John Wayne. It was actually more of Marmaduke, because he was like a giant puppy who would follow me around. But a great guy, great to have around. One of the things, Duke is out of the Army now. One of the things about him is he was on a convoy. He was the NCOIC of the convoy, which is non-commissioned officer in charge, the sergeant in charge of the convoy. They got attacked, and this fella, one of our soldiers, Roger Pena, he got killed in the attack. And, you know, it's sad, obviously, you know, for all of us. Because Pena was a really good young man. He was a medic, and there's just something even a little sadder about somebody who joins the military to be a medic and help people. You know, just indiscriminately gets killed by the bad guys. But Duke, since he was in charge that day, he took that really hard, and you know, you hear about a lot of folks have trouble adjusting when they get back and have problems with drugs or alcohol or suicide or things, and I think Duke's okay now, but I mean, he was kind of worried about him for a while. But anyway, these are just repeats that I didn't mean to print off. So.
Alright, well, thank you very much.
Well,
Yeah.